Sounds good.
Mhm. We are pleased to have Frank Collins on today's webinar to elaborate on how we can use our iPhone photos and videos effectively on Instagram. Frank is a photographer and designer with an extensive background in sales, which makes him the creative strategist, founder, and partner of Danger Dynamite. Thank you, Frank, for joining us today. Please note that Frank will do his best to answer all of your questions during the presentation. If he missed your question or cannot answer it due to time restraints, we will post the answers on our website alongside the recorded webinar. Frank, please start whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. Thank you for the intro, guys. Yes, my company is Danger Dynamite, and we do a lot of social media marketing. So we're just going to dive right into this and get started. Again, if anybody has any questions or whatnot, I'm going to try my best to keep an eye on the chat below and respond to those questions as quickly and efficiently as possible. So today we're going to talk about Instagram. We're going to talk about how, first of all, to understand Instagram and what it can do for you, and second, how to use things like your iPhone or other cameras to do great video, great photography, and engage your audience. So here's a couple of the main topics I wanted to cover today. Number one is understanding Instagram and marketing and how those two work together. Number two is knowing your audience and your brand. Number three, getting down to business and creating that eye candy that everybody wants to see. Number four, staying current with what's possible on Instagram. Instagram is, in a lot of ways, the baby of the industry, so there's lots that's changing and evolving with that. Number five, listening to your audience so you know what to send out there on Instagram. And number six, how do you get noticed? That's probably the hardest one of all of them, but we'll touch on that a little bit. Okay, so first things first is, if you don't already have it, go and sign up for an Instagram account. You can do that as yourself. As you can see there, there's my smiling mug on the Instagram login app. So you can do that now via either the app on your phone or via the website for Instagram.com. Either one will allow you now to register an account. It used to be only on the phone, but you can now do it on desktop as well. With that in mind, you can also start an account, not just for yourself, but also for your business. Having both is probably great. What you're pushing out and publishing on both of those is going to be different depending on whether it's your business voice you're speaking with or your personal voice, and you don't want to kind of confuse those. You want to keep them separate. So when you're registering one, register it for both your personal and your business. Sheila, yes, definitely, it's free. Instagram is like Facebook. It relies on advertising as their revenue source. So yes, the app itself is free. So we're going to go through understanding Instagram and marketing. One of the most common misconceptions of Instagram is its influence and effect on a brand. Instagram has a massive, massive impact on brands now, largely because it is the fastest growing social network in the world right now. It is just behind Facebook now as far as total usage. I think actually as of this fall, the numbers are kind of confusing right now as to where it's changed, but as of this fall, I believe Instagram may have surpassed Facebook as far as the overall users that are using it and connecting to the network on a daily basis. So it is also the biggest driver of user engagement. So what does that mean? It means that people are interacting directly with whatever a business or organization is posting. With Facebook, stuff can kind of slide through your feed and everybody's kind of used to it. With Instagram, you're getting way more engagement on a per post basis than you would on things like Facebook, provided that you're putting out content that people like. So why is that? A big part of it is Instagram is very, very visual, and people remember what they see. That visual nature is very encourages engagement. It gets people excited. People see a photo and they get way more excited about a photo than they ever will about text. Same thing with video. People see a video and they want to watch it. It's instinctual. So you're going to get that engagement that you wouldn't otherwise get on a lot of other content, like posting articles or posting text blurbs, things like that. Something that we try to do at Danger Dynamite as often as possible is, if we can, we try to put out an image that goes with whatever we're trying to say, to try and get that message across as effectively and efficiently as possible. I'm sorry, Diane, am I cutting in and out for you, or is anybody else missing pieces of this as well, or is it just Diane? Okay, sounds like it's clear for most people. Awesome. I'll continue on then. So yeah, keeping in mind that that Instagram is all about visuals. People love to engage with that. It doesn't matter what social network you're on. People are going to engage with that kind of stuff more because of the nature of Instagram. It is focused solely on visual. You're just naturally going to get more engagement, and the more impactful the images are that you use, the more engagement you're going to get. So that's kind of understanding in a nutshell why Instagram is so important. It's an opportunity to get your brand visually in front of your customers, and they're going to remember it a lot more than they would in other networks like Twitter, where it's solely text-based for the most part, and then Facebook, where it's a mix of things. Instagram, whatever you're posting, people are going to see it right away. So moving on from understanding Instagram and marketing, that's a pretty quick, brief overview, but I think you guys probably get the idea. And if you have questions, please ask. One of the biggest things is knowing who your audience is. Knowing your audience and knowing your brand is essential with any social network, more so with Instagram, because how are you going to represent yourself if you don't know who your customers are and what they want to see, and who you are as a company and what image you want to put forward. So knowing those two things is super important when moving forward with Instagram. And knowing the demographic of that target audience is going to dictate what kind of images you're going to put forward. You're going to post a very different thing if you're marketing to, let's say, a teenager versus someone who's in their 40s. The type of imagery and the way you're presenting it's going to look a lot different between those two different target audiences. And the same thing goes with your brand. Knowing what it is that you as a brand want to show people. So here's a quick little snapshot of what our Instagram looks like at Danger Dynamite. You can see, we've got a very cultivated type of imagery that's going out. We want people to see what it is we do. We also want to see them to see a little bit of the au naturel stuff, if you will. So we get a mix of our professional work going out on Instagram, a mix of iPhone photography going on Instagram, and sometimes we like to dress it up a little bit so we have that nice, clean look and feel to what we're doing. And other brands take things a little bit differently. So here's Aiden Kitchen and Bar, for example. They also don't use a lot of iPhone photography. They're mostly using professional cameras as well. So you can switch it up. You don't have to use just iPhones on your Instagram. But this gives you a good idea of what they're trying to do. They're trying to market to a very specific target audience and represent a very specific image on their Instagram. So they're cultivating that and curating it appropriately. And you guys can do that too with your business, no matter what it is, whether you're a welding shop, whether you're knitting socks, whether you're making food, whatever that business is, there is a specific image that fits that brand, that business. And there's also a specific target audience that will respond to certain types of imagery better or worse. And then so second, or moving on from that, knowing what your brand is, what your identity is, knowing who your target audience is. The other one that kind of ties into that is understand whether or not Instagram is even the right social network for you. That doesn't, even if it's not the right social network, doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. You need to focus your energy where you're going to get the best traction. So knowing whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, whatever your business is, knowing what the target audience that you're going after, what social network they're the most active on, is key to knowing where you want to invest your time the most. You still should be present and represented on all of them. But knowing where to focus your energy is important as well. So moving on from that, get into the eye candy section of things. So taking great photography and pushing it on your brand. Knowing how to compose an image is essential to using your iPhone or your digital SLR camera or whatever you're using effectively. And taking that time. Your camera on most phones now has grids on it. Most digital SLR as well have grids on it. And taking some time to learn how to compose an image is essential. This one here, for example, was taken using a digital SLR camera, not an iPhone. But very simple and easy to compose. Just sitting down and looking at where my lines are, looking at where I'm positioning things within the frame makes a huge difference. Whether you're looking at that, or I'm going to skip back to a slide. This one here was taken using an iPhone. It's a cup of coffee sitting on the counter in my kitchen. Things like that. Like if you take the time to kind of compose that image and get that great angle or the lighting that you're looking for and things like that. We're not talking half an hour to set this up. We're talking maybe a minute or two to kind of position things where you want them. Makes a huge difference. So play with it. Be creative with what you're doing. Look at where the light is shining through things. Be aware of what's happening in the background of images. Taking a photo with your iPhone, you're going to get a much larger depth of field. So things in the background are going to be relatively clear. You can be able to see them. So being mindful of things like that make a big difference when you're taking a photo. And whatever it is that you're trying to focus on, making sure that it is in focus is super essential. I see an awful lot where people get really rushed with things like iPhone photography. You'll see that people are out of focus or the subject matter is out of focus, and they'll post it anyways. It's a really bad idea to do that. You're going to get a poor reaction from it. People aren't going to be super excited about it, and they're going to see that you didn't take your time with it. So be patient. Try to get that image just right, and push it on social media and get it out there. Also using things like the various filters that are native to Instagram. When you are using filters, you're going to get a better reaction on an image than you would otherwise. Sounds odd. People love to see things that are slightly modified, I guess. So having those filters on there helps with people receiving an image or video better. So moving on from the photography end of things, we can touch on more on, if you guys have questions on how to compose later on, we can touch on that near the end. But moving on from that, we want to look at video. Video is huge and is a growing part of how Instagram works. With video, you're looking for telling a story. You want to get people engaged with whatever it is that you're doing, and you can use video, much like photography, to tell whatever story it is, but you're not limited to one single frame. You can have audio with it, whether it's a person speaking or whether it's music. You can capture multiple things in one video. Maybe you're not just focusing on one subject matter, but you're moving from one thing to another and capturing multiple things in the same sequence. But you can tell a story with it, and doing that allows you to show much more of your business, your brand, your image, than you would have with just single stills. And try to stay consistent and regular with whatever you're posting. That's essential no matter what social network you're looking at. But with Instagram, like Twitter, because things are so quick, people don't necessarily go and look at your brand page on Instagram. They're going to see you in real time as they're flowing through their feed. So being consistent is important, making sure that you're posting on a regular basis. With photography, it's pretty quick and easy to pull out your iPhone and take a quick photograph of something that's relevant to your brand and posting it on Instagram and getting that consistency with it. And just challenge yourself with it. Challenge yourself to make a post every day or take a photo every day. And you'll find that once you start doing that, it becomes almost second nature. You start seeing the things around you that would be viable material for Instagram and things like that. And it no longer becomes a chore to do it. It just becomes second nature that you're seeing these things. You're not looking for them anymore. They're just popping out in front of you. So challenge yourself with that kind of thing, and you'll notice a increase in what you're able to do right away. Moving on from that, we're going to go to number 4, which is staying current with what's possible on Instagram. Um, like I said before, Instagram is kind of the baby of the social media networks in a lot of ways, and they're constantly changing what it's capable of doing. There's still lots of limitations with Instagram that there aren't with other networks. So understanding those as well, but understanding when things change and seeing it and keeping an eye on it makes a big difference. For a long time, video wasn't a thing. It was only photography. And then they introduced video clips on Instagram to compete with a company called Vine, where they did 16-second video clips. And Instagram did the exact same thing, 16-second clips. They've now increased that to 60 seconds. So you're not limited to that 16-second time frame anymore. You now have a full minute of video you can post to Instagram as either a page video or an ad or however you want to use that. So it opens the door on what you can do, how big of a story you can tell, using things like Boomerang, which is very popular right now. Staying on top of that because it is trendy is important, and finding out ways to use that for your brand if you can. Also, something that you can now do with Instagram is tracking analytics and what they call insights. You can now log into, and hold on here. I missed a couple of my slides, so I'm sorry about that. So here's one for engagement. I started talking and forgot about the slides. Here we are. We're caught up now. Looking at the insights in Instagram. Instagram now, like a lot of social networks, allows you to see what's happening on your account. You can now keep track of what people are doing, who your target audience is, when is the best time to engage with them, which is huge. So you'll see in that first iPhone shot there, you'll see up in the top corner beside Jasper's Market, you'll see a couple little bars and then a gear. If you have a account for Instagram that's for business, you can switch it from being a person to a business. By default, it's a person. Instagram assumes everything is a person before they move on to businesses. So you have to convert that account to a business. You do that in the settings. You can say this is a business instead of this is a person. And then what happens is it connects with your Facebook page. So you have to have that first. And that's how they confirm that you are an actual business, not a person. But then what happens is this little icon for Insights pops up on your Instagram. What Insights does is it lets you see what are your most popular things, what kind of exposure are you getting for your page. But most importantly, in that middle frame, you're going to see those bars across the bottom, those blue bars. Those are super important because that shows you when is the most important time of that day to be posting to get the best exposure with your target audience. So it helps you get ahead of the game a little bit. You can see here that posting in the evening for this particular account is not as effective as posting at around noon. So you can see that throughout the morning there's an increase of user exposure, and then they peak at around noon, and then they trail off towards the evening. So when they're posting things, they want to try and post things probably just before noon. They're going to get the best exposure with their target audience. And it's different for everybody. Ours looks much different than this. Ours is more, for Danger Dynamite, is much more towards the end of the day. We get better exposure for Instagram. But knowing when that window is for your business is important. And this is, again, a new feature that Instagram just rolled out recently, having these insights. And then the last frame shows what kind of impressions that you're getting on an image, where this is data you wouldn't otherwise get. You wouldn't see this with a regular user, but you do for business pages or profiles, sorry. So knowing that the kind of impressions you're getting, so people who are seeing your post in their feed, what the reach is, how many people is exposed to, and then lastly, engagement. So are people liking it, or are they commenting on it, things like that. So you can see that kind of information now, and not just seeing how many likes you got like you used to be seeing in Instagram. Also, we now have multi-user support, or sorry, multi-account support and account switching in Instagram. So you can no longer have to log out of one Instagram account and log into another like you used to. It used to be a huge pain to manage more than one Instagram account because you had to log out of one and then log into another. Now there's an account switching option in Instagram that allows you to really quickly and easily switch between accounts. So you can manage your personal account, your business account, maybe another organization you're part of that you might be helping manage their Instagram. You can now switch between all of those, and it makes management of your business and personal Instagrams much easier. Okay, we're gonna move on to that, to listening to your audience. So creating a two-way interaction with your audience to increase engagement is a big part of Instagram. Yeah, you can definitely push out whatever content you want on Instagram, but getting people to engage with you requires you understanding what it is they want to see and then creating a dialogue. So doing things like posting images that are engaging, but then also having text content on those images that gets people fired up, if you will. So here's a photo that I took from Little Grouse restaurant downtown of their chef throwing some alcohol in the pan and getting a nice big flame going. And then doing things like engaging with the audience after you posted a photo like that. Asking a question of them. Hey, do you guys like the front row seats you have of our kitchen in Little Grouse, where you can see what we're up to? Stuff like that can be really exciting and get people fired up about the brand. And also having having contests is useful. Photo contests are a big thing that I've seen a lot of lately. Sorry guys, just give me a moment here. There you go. The slide kind of zoomed in on us there. Having photo contests is something that I see a lot of lately, where people are asking customers to take photos of their product, or take photos of an event that they're hosting, or things that relate to their brand, and asking them to post it and tag their business in it. That's a huge part of getting people excited about your brand, is having them do something on Instagram to kind of fuel that. And then taking that content as a brand and reposting it on your own page. So this pumpkins, for example, was at a pumpkin carving contest out at the Cross Mountain Cidery just out of Saskatoon. They had people come and carve pumpkins and then take pictures of them and post it on Instagram and get people engaged. Here's one as well that was taken just about a week and a bit ago over on the train bridge in Saskatoon. Sorry guys, bear with me a moment here. That's a little better. This one was tagged. This is from a personal account. It was tagged to a brand, so Bike Doctor in Saskatoon and Norco Bicycles. Both of those brands took that image that they were tagged in and reshared it on their social media networks to get people excited. Again, this photograph was taken with an iPhone, so you can get great photographs using an iPhone if you compose it and figure out what you want to show and how you want to show it, angles, things like that. And then the brands reposting it shows that they're engaging with their customers or their target audience, and it gets their target audience fired up. It's super exciting when you post a picture and those brands repost it or engage with it or comment on it or whatever. So making sure that you're keeping an eye on that kind of stuff as well. If your customers are posting things or your potential customers are posting things that relate to your business, going out and engaging with them, either commenting on how awesome it is that they took that photo and talked about your brand, or reposting it so that they get exposure. Now they're excited and they want to post more for your brand. So those kinds of things will get people excited. Asking questions of that audience as well. Hey, did you like that bike? That's a great way to get people engaging with your brand as well, or whatever the product is that you guys are selling or service you're selling. Asking people if they liked it when they've commented or posted something. Another way to listen to your audience, and this feeds into the next phase as well, is letting people know where you are and what you're doing. When you do that, be it sitting at your desk and taking a picture of your computer or your cup of coffee, or if you're out and about at a meeting or whatnot, showing people what you do, how you do it, where you are in the world right now, and what you're up to is a great way to engage with them. So here's an example. We were on location shooting a video at Il Secondo just off Broadway Avenue. And this is us testing the video cameras, and testing the lighting and things like that. So it shows people what we're up to. And people, this is one of the highest engaging photographs we've had in a while. So people got excited about the fact that we're showing what we're doing on location. So again, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're running a mechanic shop, whether you're again knitting slippers or whatever. If you show people what it is you do, they get excited about it. And that leads us into getting noticed. So a big part of getting noticed on Instagram is hashtags. So again, another photograph I took in my kitchen. But the hashtags are so essential on Instagram, and don't be afraid to use a lot of them. You can hide hashtags that don't look cluttered at the beginning. You want to have your little thing that you're saying about whatever your photograph is, but then hashtag all over the place with it. Find hashtags that get lots of traction. When you start typing in hashtag in Instagram, it'll usually tell you how much exposure that particular hashtag has had, so you know whether or not it's an effective one. Very huge exposure hashtags are usually not great, like hashtag coffee. There's so many people that use it that your image will just get lost in the blur, if you will, of Instagram, because of that particular hashtag. There's so many people posting to it that within half a second that image is lost in the feed. So getting creative with what that hashtag is. So coffee is life. There's probably significantly less keywords or people using that particular hashtag than it would be for just coffee. So getting creative with that, finding ways to play with those keywords, maybe branding them specifically for you. Danger Dynamite, as an example, we use our hashtag Danger Dynamite hashtag as well as hashtag Marketing Evolved. Those are the two that we have branded as our own, and we use them for all of our stuff that we push out, and make sure that people recognize if they were to use that hashtag, that we're going to get popped up on things. How do you, Linda? I'm going to respond to Linda here. How do you know which hashtags to use? A good way is hashtags that relate to whatever the content is. So this image, for example, hashtag coffee is life, hashtag I love coffee, anything, or hashtag coffee beans, hashtags that relate to what's in the image so that it's pulling things out, hashtag marketing photography, hashtag mason jar. I don't know what those jars are actually called, so we're going to go with mason jar. Things like that, like hashtags that relate to what's in the image, hashtags that relate to what it is that you're trying to achieve with the image, and then hashtags that just relate to your business and the message you're trying to communicate to your customers. I hope that kind of answered that question a little bit, Linda. Moving on from hashtags is using the Explore feature on Instagram. That will kind of show you people that you can connect with. And connecting with people on Instagram shows them that you're paying attention to them. And as soon as you do that, they're likely to start paying attention back. So it's kind of like following on Twitter, I guess, very similar. You're going to follow that person. Unlike Facebook doesn't allow you to really go out and reach out to people. It's a one-way thing. They have to come and find you. With Instagram, you can go out and find them. You can go and find your target audience and connect with them. And then they start seeing what you're seeing, and they know that you're paying attention to them. And you can kind of grow your follower base on Instagram by connecting with people and exploring who you should be connecting with. And Instagram's pretty good about helping to find people that are related to your business, your peers, so maybe your competitors, and connecting you with those user groups. Tagging people in photos as well. You can tag people. You can use the geolocation feature of Instagram to show that you're at a business, and that helps get people to know that you're engaging with them. Shows people again where you are in the world, what you're doing, and then gets them excited about your brand. If you take a photograph of somebody, let's say riding that bike again, I tagged those businesses in that photograph. They could have done the exact same thing the other way around. They could have taken the photograph and tagged me as a person in that photo and got me excited about their brand. So it goes both ways, but tagging people is great for your brand, as well as using the geolocation and check-ins option on Instagram. Sorry, Melissa, should we follow people? so that they follow us back. You should follow people, and if they follow you back, that's great. Um, you can also just let people follow you, but it's a hard one to kind of explain. But if you just sit there and wait for people to come and follow you, it's going to be so painfully slow that you could be 3 years on the road and have 5 followers. Because people don't just automatically find you unless you're really, really good with the hashtags. Um, that's the only way that they're going to be able to find you is if you're using those hashtags. So following people is a great thing to do on Instagram. You kind of have to do it in order to get that exposure. You can also unfollow people. So if you follow people and you see their stuff in your feed all the time and you find that it's not really useful for you or it's not what you want to see, you can unfollow them as well. You can be very strategic about what you're following. You don't want to be following random stuff that doesn't relate to your business or relates negatively to your business. You would be very mindful of that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely follow people. It helps to get that engagement. It definitely shows them that you're taking that initiative to interact with them as a customer, that you see them as being valuable and important. Maureen Johnson, up in the upper left corner. Hold on, I'm just going to open up my app here so I can see it for sure. But I think it's in the upper left corner of Instagram. Yep, if you go to Instagram, in the upper left corner, you're going to see a little plus icon with what looks like a kind of person silhouette. That's where you can find the Explore feature. If you click on that, it'll show you all the different people that you can discover or organizations you can discover and things like that. That works for both personal profiles and businesses. So you can do that on either one. You can discover, you can connect to people off of Facebook that you're connected with. So if you have like a lot of people that you're friends with on Facebook, you can connect with them and see who's also on Instagram and connect with them via Instagram so they can see your page now. You can see who in your contacts list is on Instagram and connect with them. And then, yeah, there's just the general people that Instagram feels are important to your business as well that you can now go and interact with. I hope that answers your question, Marie. And Sheila, I'm just reading your question here. Honestly, when it comes to using hashtags that are positive, negative, whatever, the hashtags, people don't really read them much, to be honest with you. So people, when they're reading what you're posting, aren't going to be going through and looking at what all your hashtags are. They might kind of briefly go through it. So you want to use the more positive ones towards the beginning of your block of hashtags, if you will. But you can definitely use things like hashtag teachers who are frustrated. Obviously, it would be all one word. And you're probably going to get a more concentrated group of people that are going to be paying attention to that keyword, or sorry, that hashtag, than you would be with just hashtag teachers. Hashtag teachers is going to be a huge blanket keyword, or sorry, hashtag. We're going to get a lot of exposure. But it's also, like I said before, one where your post might get just lost in the flurry. Whereas hashtag teachers who are frustrated will probably get a much more concentrated exposure, and it's going to be other teachers who are frustrated, most likely, not most likely the parents that are going to be following that one. But definitely use it if it's relevant to what's being posted. Use it. So like if it's a post that's relevant to things like maybe the union is striking or something like that, or one of those everyday issues that teachers might deal with that make them just want to pull their hair out, stuff like that. Like definitely they can use the hashtags that are relevant to the subject matter that they're posting about, and that's what's most important. Not whether or not your hashtags are necessarily positive or negative, but that the hashtags are relevant to whatever it is you're trying to communicate. And if you're communicating that teachers are frustrated, then using the relevant hashtag, whether it's negative or not, is important to be using with that image. And again, so that's kind of the end of what I have for slides. So now I want to kind of open the floor for questions people have about how to compose images, maybe how to make good images using their iPhone. If you have questions about what images in here were done with iPhones versus digital SLR cameras, feel free to ask that as well. The one that we're looking at right now was done with a digital SLR, taking that image and then taking it over and using it on Instagram. This one here, for example, was used an iPhone. That's an iPhone photo. Same with this. This is an iPhone photo. I saw that you can only use one picture at a time. Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Sheila. While you're typing there, I'm just going to answer Melissa's question. How many times a day should a business post on Instagram? As much as you can. There is no blanket answer to that saying that you should post 4 times a day or something like that. The key is staying consistent with it. If you can post once a week, then post once a week. If you can post once a day, then post once a day. It all comes down to what you're capable of, what you have time for. And you can also kind of mix and match between your personal Instagram and your business Instagram. So this is my business Instagram is a much different feed than my personal one, but the two can kind of play off of each other in a way. You can kind of push people over to your business one from your personal, and you might be more active on that one. So something like this bike, for example, I'm going to post that on my personal one, and then I'm going to use hashtags and things to kind of cross promote to my business. And that helps getting an exposure from the brand. But yeah, as far as timing and how many times a day to post, honestly, if you can post once a day, you're doing pretty good. I don't know very many businesses that are small businesses that do more than that. Some bigger businesses do. But yeah, once a day is killing it. If you can do it maybe every 2-3 days is quite sufficient for most small businesses. Let's go back to Sheila's question here. Oh, I see what you mean, like posting like a group of or a block of images like you would on Facebook, where you can do a little gallery kind of thing. Yeah, Instagram, you're one shot and done. They don't give you the option to post a bunch of images at one time. You have to, each individual image is posted to Instagram. So I run into this all the time where we'll do a photo project for something and we want to showcase stuff. You want to showcase all the photos that you did at that event, for example. Well, unfortunately, you can't. So you have to be really strategic with using the right image for the event. So picking one image that really represents whatever it is you want to communicate, and using just that image on Instagram. Now that's where you can utilize different social networks differently. So on Facebook now, you can go to Facebook and you can post a group of images that talk about that event, and treat that post the same way you would have treated the one image on Instagram. So Instagram, you're doing one. On Facebook, you're doing the block of images. What you can also do on that note is, instead of posting, say you have an event that's happening in the city, instead of waiting till the event is over and posting all the images in a big block like you would on Facebook, you might want to post the images in real time while the event is happening. So maybe there'll be 4 or 5 images that go out to your Instagram that are all around the same topic, and you had 4 or 5 images that day go out on your on Instagram, but they all would be treated as individual images for sure. Is it okay if all the images are very similar? Well, yeah, if your brand is focusing on one thing, then the images are all going to be similar. Let's use Aiden as an example here. All of their images are fairly similar. They all show food. They all show, these latest ones are showing things that are very Christmassy colored and holiday colored. So you're seeing that kind of visual representation in the images. If you were to scroll through their images throughout the year, you can see that things change. They change those images according to what it is they're trying to market. So right now it's a holiday season. They want people to come in for their holiday supper with friends and family or work or whatever. So they're using imagery that reflects that. They have an image there of one of their gift cards and a fork. So things like that. But all of the images are very similar in what they're shooting, like what kind of things they're showing in those images, as well as how those images are curated and set up for how they're going to use colors and things like that. I'll use us as a counter to that. We don't ever do the same thing twice. So for us, it's constantly changing. So what goes on our network is always going to be different. Um, so we're a little different than a restaurant like Aiden, or a coffee shop, for example, would always be posting things like cups of coffee or various pastries and things like that. So yeah, what it is you're doing, it's okay if it's always the same because it's what your brand is, right? Your brand isn't everything. Your brand is specific to what it is you're doing. Were there any other questions in there? While everybody's thinking about that, one thing I will say is that using photo editors on your iPhone or your Samsung or whatever is super useful to get those images to really look great. Um, the images that you see here, none of these are without a filter. They've all had some type of filter or editing done on them, even if it's just on an iPhone. The app that you use is important as well. You can use the native editing that's in either your iPhone or smart or other smartphone, or the editing that's available right in Instagram itself. I prefer to use other ones. I don't really ever use the filters or the editing tools that are native to the phone or the Instagram app itself. I use third-party ones that do cost a little bit of money. So there is Photoshop for your phone. Photoshop is an app or a tool that people use on computers a lot. But you can also use their app for your phone. It does give you some of the tools that you would see in the full Photoshop suite. But it allows you to just do some quick, small, light edits on photos. Another one that I like to use a lot is one called Afterlight. I'm going to type that into the chat window here so you guys can see it. That's one of my favorite photo editing apps for the iPhone. I'm not sure if there's a Samsung version, but I find that one to have some really useful filters on it, as well as some straight up image editing, so cropping, changing angles in photos so you can straighten things and make it look level, whereas the actual photo might not have been. Things like that. It allows you to really make that image perfect before you push it out. So maybe the image when you took it with the iPhone wasn't quite right, but you can make some adjustments to it. A good example would be this one over here of the bike that I took. The original image didn't fit this frame right. So the original image would have been much taller. So I was able to crop it, adjust it so that this bridge looked perfectly straight. Things like that, so that the image that ends up going out is bang on to the image that I envisioned when I was taking the photograph. Um, yeah, it's going to want to, everything always wants to connect to your personal account. But once you connect, you want to connect to your personal account, because once you do that, then it will now ask you after that. It'll either automatically connect to the page that's associated with your personal account, or it will connect to it'll ask you which one of the pages you manage you want to connect to. I'm assuming that your business Facebook account is associated with is on your same. Sorry, my wording is not quite right here. Does your personal user, so Maureen Johnson, when you log into Facebook as Maureen Johnson, are you able to access your business page using that user's login? Because that's the essential part there. Is you need to be able to do them both. So if you have that set up that way, so what will happen is you'll authorize Instagram to connect with your personal Facebook account, and because your business account is connected to your personal Facebook account, Instagram will connect. Usually, it will connect automatically to the appropriate page, but sometimes if you have multiple pages, it might ask you to verify which page is the correct page to connect to. No problem at all. So I just put the two usernames for both Danger Dynamite and my own personal brand in the comments for Instagram, and you can kind of see how I curate things and kind of take a quick look and see how those things are curated differently from one another. So I do treat Instagram for myself as a personal brand. I don't treat it as, hey, I'm just going to post every single picture that I take with my iPhone. I'm going to throw it on Instagram. I treat it as my own person as a brand. Um, so I curate the images that are pushed out on Instagram for both myself and my business differently, but both with a specific goal in mind. I'm curating an image. Um, so keep that in mind. You can go and use those as examples and see how some of the photos are curated to create that kind of sentiment between both of them. Is there an easy way to tell new messages, etc.? Um, Instagram, I'm assuming you're talking about the messaging function in Instagram. Um, Man, I have to say it's horrible. Instagram is not designed as a messenger in any way, shape, or form. Um, so the messages function in Instagram I find is horrible because you don't really see it right away because it's kind of off in a little tiny box up in the top corner that has a little red circle on it. So it's not super uh, intuitive as to how to find that. So if you're to open up Instagram and go to your home page, you'll see like a little airplane icon on the top corner that shows you where all your messages. Um, Again, I find that to be not super useful. I usually don't even notice that someone sent a message in it, so it's kind of, you gotta be really careful with that one. As far as the knowing what posts are chronological, Instagram has messed that up something awful, and it's a pain. But it used to be that whatever you saw in your feed on Instagram was chronological. Now it's just kind of, I have no idea. I really have no idea how it is they decide what's going in there, and what the order is. So there isn't like on Facebook you can kind of filter it and decide, okay, I want to see things chronological, or I want Facebook to show me what's important first, or whatever. With Instagram, there isn't that functionality yet. I'm sure that it'll come at some point because there's been a lot of people that are not really impressed with the fact that Instagram has done away with chronological feed and gone to the same sort of format as Facebook, where they show you what they think you want to see. Um, so again, that's where hashtags come in really important. Is if people miss you in that feed, you can rely on hashtags to hopefully get exposed to them again. Or doing things like going and liking people's posts in your feed. There's no quicker way to get people excited about what you're posting by first going and liking what they're posting. Um, so if you go into your feed and just go through it, like I do it all the time with hashtag YXE, I'll go see who in Saskatoon has posted something, and I'll go through and I'll look for photos that I think are A, good, and B, are people that I want to see come and look at Danger Dynamite. I'll go through and I'll like their posts. And sure enough, if you do that, people are gonna say, oh hey, Danger Dynamite like my stuff. I'm gonna go see what they're up to. So they'll go click on Danger Dynamite and they'll see what posts that we've made recently and maybe like a few of those or follow us or something. So I'm just reading your question here. I'm not quite sure what you mean by link them. If you mean what you post to Instagram automatically gets pushed out to Facebook and Twitter as well. Yeah, okay. That's a lot of people do that with Instagram for their personal stuff, where you'll see that they'll post something to Instagram and it'll automatically get posted to Facebook, and you'll see the little via Instagram thing on their the post on Facebook. Same thing with Twitter. From a marketing perspective, I think it's horrible. And the reason for that is things don't always display properly going from one network to another. So what you post on Instagram doesn't necessarily translate properly to Facebook. So the image will look fine, but maybe the person you were tagging in it has a different username on Facebook than they did on Instagram. So you're just going to see that @ username in the text. Also on Facebook, you don't want to have a pile of hashtags. So where on Instagram you might have 20 hashtags, on Facebook you want like maybe one key important hashtag, if at all. So hashtags, so you want to post things separately. You can use tools like Hootsuite to make that happen. So if you're sitting at your desktop, for example, and you want to push out to multiple networks, you can use Hootsuite to do that. Same thing with your phone. So you can curate the content separately for the different networks, so it's the correct type of formatting and things. I hope that answers your question, Sola. There is. I don't know what the exact character count is, Sheila, but it's really big. Like you can literally write an essay on Instagram, and it'll allow you to post it. So you can post a lot of content on there. There isn't a limit to any of that stuff. That's within what most people would be typing. Just one moment, so I'll get you that hash or that link there, Marine. But yeah, Sheila, like you can write a lot on Instagram. It's not like Twitter where you're limited to 140 characters. It's more in line with what Facebook would offer. And there's a link to Hootsuite, Marine. Hootsuite runs a desktop, a web-based application, as well as they have an app for iPhones. I'm assuming probably for Samsung as well, or sorry, Android, I guess. But yeah, Hootsuite is a great tool for managing multiple social media accounts. Yeah, no problem at all. And if anybody has any questions or wants any pointers or things like that that may have been missed or they maybe didn't think of to ask the question while we're in this webinar, feel free to contact me as well and fire me a message on various social networks. I'm pretty public. I don't really hide much, so I don't I don't have any of those global versus private settings on Facebook. Everything is pretty much out there. So if you want to reach out and ask a question, feel free to do so. Fire me an email if you'd like as well. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. I would like to give a huge thank you to Frank Collins for taking the time today to teach us how to use simple yet effective videos and imagery to create our brand personality and connect with our audience. We truly appreciate your time and all the takeaway tips that were given today. I also want to say thank you to everyone that was able to join us today on this webinar. Our next upcoming webinar, Go Forth and Succeed, is on January 17th, and our presenter is Dr. Leslie McGough with the Go Forth Institute. Please check your WE emails or visit our website to register. Thanks again, everyone, and thank you, Frank.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.